Well, that was pretty cool. I got to teach a tractor how to wheelie. We're gonna do a bit of a torture test. I just so happen to have access to a tractor, a bunch of lifting equipment, and some climbing gear that I'm willing to destroy to build trust in all this equipment. Whoa! This is not what I was hoping for. I am not reassured at all. My friends all really like to climb. I spend most of my time being terrified. My problem is my engineering brain, because I'm an engineer, and I know that somewhere another engineer came to an office and designed this carabiner and this rope and this carabiner. And did they have enough coffee today? Were they a little tired? All these bits of climbing gear are upheld to extremely high safety standards. They're tested thoroughly. There's no reason to doubt them. However, for me, it's not a rational fear, and I won't feel comfortable on the wall until I prove to myself these are safe. So I'm gonna be doing a few different tests to try and build my trust with this equipment. First up, we've got a tractor and tree versus climbing rope. Next up will be the 100-pound drop test. And to finish it off, we'll be testing a 1,200-pound drop. Let's get started. Okay, for our very first test, we have tractor and tree versus climbing rope. Now for all of these tests, I'm gonna be using a knot that's standard in climbing and mountaineering called the figure 8 follow-through. The figure 8 follow-through is climbing's most used knot. It doesn't require a backup knot, it's easy to tie, and it's strong. Not only that, it retains 75 to 80% of the rope's strength. Now, instead of attaching the rope to a harness, I'm tying it around this tree and connecting the other end to the tractor. All right, let's start her up. Give it just a little bit of tension here. This rope has a rated impact force of 8.4 kilonewtons, or around 1,900 pounds. That doesn't seem like a really high number. However, the safety of a climbing rope comes from its ability to stretch, its elongation. The more rope you're using, the more it's going to stretch, and the slower you're going to come to a stop when you fall. This is about as tight as a guitar string now, and that stretchiness is why we say climbing ropes are very dynamic. They have a lot of give, so when you fall while you're climbing, the rope absorbs a lot of your energy by stretching, cushioning your impact at the bottom of the rope. Okay, so we're obviously gonna have to try a little harder to see if we can break this. I'm gonna fire up the tractor again and give it a little bounce. We can see here how the rope is stretching well beyond the 30% it's designed to handle. And it doesn't feel like a lot of force to me in the cab of the tractor because I'm simply pushing on a pedal. But this tractor can pull many thousands of pounds. Whoa, that's so cool. I can't believe it actually snapped. Whoa! So, where did it fail? Well, this knot was at the tractor end and it did pull through a little bit, but it didn't fail there, no. It actually failed right in the middle, which is definitely not what I expected. Did the rope have some previous damage here? I don't think so. Okay, to be quite honest, that actually seemed a little bit too easy. That didn't make me feel better. Of course, it's really hard to tell how much force you're putting in with a tractor, but it didn't seem like it took much. This is not what I was hoping for. I am not reassured at all. Gotta do some more testing, I guess. Okay, it's day 2. Last night I had nightmares about falling off cliffs, so I feel like I need something just a bit more quantifiable. So let's drop something heavy. So this is a 100-pound anchor. To simulate a fall, we're gonna drop it from up there. The distance from where it's gonna be sitting to the catch point is 9 feet. From that, we'll be able to calculate how much force is going into this rope. If you were a 100-pound climber that fell 9 feet. We can calculate the speed of a falling object based on the height of the fall, using the formula V equals the square root of 2 times G times H, where G is the gravitational constant of 32 feet per second squared. We know our fall height is 9 feet, so in this case, the maximum velocity at the bottom of that 9-foot fall is going to be 24 feet per second. Now, in order to calculate the force of the 100-pound anchor falling 9 feet, we need to understand the concept of impulse. An impulse is a force applied over time, and it's also equal to the change in momentum. We can calculate the momentum, that's mass times velocity, and we do know that our final momentum is 0, so our impulse must be equal to the momentum. However, to calculate the force, we still need time. For this, we can look at the footage. All right, let's get to it. 3, 2, 1. Wow.
You can really see the stretch in the climbing rope. Okay, once more for good measure, I'm gonna try to get a bit more slow-mo on this.
Using the timestamps in the slow-mo footage, we can see that it took about 75 milliseconds for the climbing rope to arrest the anchor's fall. If we divide the impulse by the time of the fall, we can calculate the maximum force applied to the rope, which in this case is 461 newtons, far below the rope's rating of 8,400 newtons. With our 100-pound drop test complete, it was time to move up to 1,200 pounds.
Why are there so many anchors here in inland California? I don't know.
So this is where testing went out the window and things got a little sketchy.
I can't go up this hill without the tractor tipping backwards towards that anchor because it's so heavy.
Well, that was pretty cool. I got to teach a tractor how to wheelie. Since this anchor was so much larger than the first, our little tractor wasn't going to cut it for this drop test.
Not even close.
This farm where we're filming is owned by my friend Marcus, and he's got a great idea about how to build a ridiculous rig to get this anchor higher off the ground. Let's check it out. Our plan is to use 3 20-foot-long sections of old oil pipe that have been laying around Marcus's farm. I'm going to draw 2 here, but use your imagination, there are 3. It's just really hard to draw a tripod. Near the top of the tripod, there'll be a quick release mechanism activated by a rope, so we can stand at a distance and drop the 1,200-pound anchor that we will lift into place using the tractor. That'll give us a drop of about 4 feet. It's not a lot, but it's the best we can do. With the plan in place, we got our final drop test ready. Now keep in mind, with this plan, we're still not going to have that much rope under tension, just a short section from the top of the tripod to where the anchor catches. So we should be able to push the rope beyond its maximum rated strength. A longer rope running up through the ground, through some gear, and back down to a climber or weight would have a lot more room to stretch.
Okay, so we finally got the anchor ready to be hoisted. Got carabiner, short section of brand new climbing rope with a figure 8 knot on each end. That's what the anchor's gonna drop onto. This line is going to lift our anchor. Quick release here. Once the anchor gets a little higher, I'm gonna clip it in to the upper loop there. We should have a pretty good drop.
So let's run the numbers on our 1,200-pound anchor versus a 4-foot drop. Using our formula from before, V equals the square root of 2GH, we can deduce that the anchor will reach a speed of 16 feet per second at the bottom of its 4-foot fall. And we know momentum is equal to mass times velocity. 1,200 times 16 is 19,200 pound-feet per second, which works out to 2,654 Newton seconds. However, to calculate the maximum force exerted on the rope, we still need fall arrest time from the video.
No freaking way. Someone's gotta poke it. Oh! Wow, it did hold.
Incredibly, that short section of rope successfully withstood the massive amount of force. Using the timestamps in our video footage, we can see that the fall arrest time is around 1/4 of a second. Dividing 2,654 Newton seconds by 1/4 of a second, we get that the maximum force exerted on that rope was 10.6 thousand newtons. Almost 50% more than what the rope was designed to handle. Since we hadn't snapped anything, we decided to do another drop. This time, just by lifting it up with the tractor.
Oh, second drop! Wow!
The rope had taken all it was going to take and finally snapped just outside of the figure 8 knot. Why did the rope break the second time? Well, apparently the stress from the first test did cause some damage internally and weakened the rope enough to make it break the second time. This brings up a good point about climbing rope, and that is it has a rated number of falls, usually around 6, before you're supposed to replace it. So would I consider this episode a success? Well, did I reassure myself about climbing gear and its safety? Absolutely. We pushed that short section of rope well beyond its breaking point, and it held tough. It took a second drop, again exceeding the maximum rated capacity of the rope, to snap it. That being said, none of this gear is indestructible, and although these tests weren't entirely scientific, it did illustrate to me the importance of using gear properly. The dynamic properties of the climbing rope are what give it its incredible ability to absorb energy from falls and protect the climber. Set up properly, I think it's safe to say it would be almost impossible for the amount of weight a human could lift to break the rope in a fall.